I'm sure a lot of us are very interested to see what Fujimoto does with the Fire Devil and this moral ambiguity that's currently facing Denji. It's something that has always been within the story, but it's never been a primary focus, like an arc or even character development has fully, solely centered around this idea of Denji's morals and this balance between his human self and obviously Chainsaw Man. Admittedly, that is a difficult thing to balance. You have to kind of take into consideration Denji's childhood and Chainsaw Man Part 1 and how he was treated and manipulated. Then you have to think about the humanization of his character within Part 2 and going to school and trying to survive, mixing that with the ongoing complicated issues of Yoshida and public safety and being Chainsaw Man and wanting to be idolized and remembered, but then obviously wanting to reveal his identity. He's always struggled back and forth between doing morally good things and making the right and wrong choices. It's not that Denji does or doesn't want to do bad things. If anything, I feel he tries to do good things as often as possible, but it is always to the standards of what he considers to be morally right. And his value, personally, is going to be incredibly different to a regular human. So I find the conflict between the Fire Devil and Denji currently rather interesting. There's a ton of ways that Fujimoto could play upon this. Denji is not a normal human being. He's never experienced a normal human life, so of course his morals are going to be very, very different. They're very personally driven, something more akin to being a devil that has to be learnt over time regarding the type of value he gets from other people. If someone is nice, kind, or respectful to him, he's going to go out of his way to protect that as much as possible. It's more like he doesn't have a general understanding of the moral nature of being human. But then again, half of the things that he's been through within the story is kind of difficult to balance. Like close to the beginning of Chainsaw Man Part 2, one of the people that was killed because of Denji's inability to act to save him was one of the people that the Fire Devil cared about. Her upbringing and raising as an injured devil is, funny enough, very similar to Denji and Pochita. These two kids, or twins, raised an injured Fire Devil. And when she was strong enough, she bestowed her power to them and other people that would take form in their justice. So originally, these twins admired Chainsaw Man. They respected him for what he stood for, what he was doing. Then you have the incident at the beginning of the story that left one of them dead. Denji is kind of the result of that by saving a cat instead. Fire does not take this kindly. Even the person she's pointing at that Denji just killed, the other twin brother, did not take it kindly either. Someone that originally used to love and respect Chainsaw Man, so much so that the image of him, his justice, was that of a fake Chainsaw Man, chased after him with revenge in his heart and is now dead in front of him. I never got the intention that fake Chainsaw Man was filled with revenge. There was a ton of opportunities where he appeared and actively helped Chainsaw Man escape. Now you could say that was his moral compass. That's what he thought was right at the time. But there's also the other side of this. Fire, similar to Pochita, has a very partial dimensional take on humans. It would seem that Fire was heavily injured and raised to be the devil that she is. So of course, her emotions, her morals, the way that she does not operate like a normal devil, even primal fear, is because of these twin brothers. She is a reflection of their personalities, and they seemed like good kids. They wanted to do right by the world and right by people because of Chainsaw Man. So naturally, the Fire Devil, in their own twisted way, is trying to contort to the idea of human morality, and it just doesn't really work properly. It comes off twisted and manipulative and gross. There's so many instances where the Fire Devil's involvement has led to more death, more destruction, more manipulation than ever before, directly because of her involvement. Now, does she think she's doing right? Does she understand the wrongs? Or is this meant to be a parallel, a literal mirror to what Chainsaw Man is and how he operates, not knowing right from wrong because of his circumstance? I guess what's really fascinating about it is the way the Fire Devil isolates Denji and Chainsaw Man as just being a devil. but she almost speaks like she isn't one herself, like she isn't a primal fear, like she is kind of above him. What she is doing now isn't morally right or correct, it's out of a personal grudge. She is doing and acting upon her feelings that are personal to her own experience. That experience is isolated, the same way that Denji's upbringing, Denji and Chainsaw Man in part 1, is also isolated. That might sound all really confusing, but basically Fire Devil, Chainsaw Man are very, very similar. They're doing things from a personal perspective, but they can't really realize the moral ambiguity between it, and it comes down to their own life experiences, what they've been through, etc. Now, the biggest hurdle is what the Fire Devil is about to do. She is not here to fight Denji or Chainsaw Man directly. She is here to kind of pass judgment in a very oddly hypocritical way, that Denji is going to be given two options again, and this time he should not make the same mistake. The problem is that Denji bases his choices personally, so whatever option he most likely has to choose from is going to be difficult. It makes me question how Fire is going to privy up this type of idea. Is it going to be a choice between a bunch of humans and, let's say, Yoru, for example? Or is it going to be the battle between two different personal enjoyments? Let's say Yoru and Naoyuta, or Yoru and Asa. And if Denji does pick wrong, whatever wrong technically looks like to Fire Devil, how does she respond? Does she start to fight? What would a mistake look like for Denji this time around? I like that it is complicated. I like that it channels into, Denji's mind and his choices and what he does and doesn't want to do. The amount that he has tried to simplify things over the years is kind of coming back to bite him. But this situation is very chaotic. Expecting him to make the right choices is kind of funny. Now we are shaping up to a scary moment. We have the Falling Devil here. We have Yoru who thinks that she can take on Falling. Clearly, that's not the case. Yoru is asking to be saved. What stands between them is Falling. I am very curious on what Denji decides to do here. Falling is very powerful, ridiculously so. But I also know that she's not really into this situation as much as one might think. This whole situation is trying to juice off the terror of humans. I do wonder if what Fire is doing mentally to Denji is meant to be kind of directed with death, like they're working hand in hand to overload Denji mentally to kind of make him think about these choices and the decisions that he's made over his lifetime, the right and wrongs, etc. And then you get confronted with a heavy, fighting situation that Denji has to focus on. But then you have Yoru kind of yapping in the background like, oh, you need to save me, which is kind of a primary thing that calls out Full Armored Pochita. So I kind of wonder if we're getting to a position of like trying to overload Denji and Yoru's screaming out save me Chainsaw Man type thing, so he would come out to play. I wonder if you stretch Denji thin enough, put him in vital enough position mentally, emotionally, and physically that if someone actually yells save me, Pochita would come out. Unironically, with what Fire Devil presented to us, it almost seems like a test. Death wants Pochita to come out to play, but now we cannot trust Yoru because I don't know what she's doing. She's kind of all over the place too. We could run this conversation back and forth multiple different times. I'm sure there's a lot of great ideas floating out there with how this is meant to go, but I like this direction. I like this idea. Curious on how much Fujimoto wants to explore it truly. Is it actually going to be a complicated, emotionally driven moral question, or is it going to just be something that is meant to provoke or spark or disrupt? Hell, maybe even death appears to initiate, to spark that choice that Denji or Pochita has to make.